Hi, my name's Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. And are these arrows dangerous? Well, that's what I got told. So let's go back over the story. So there's a kid at my local archery club shooting these arrows. These are 450 spined arrows. And you're going to want to know what they are, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. So he's shooting a 20-pound compound bow. And the arrow explodes, bang, out of the bow. And everyone at the archery club goes through social media. These arrows are dangerous. They're exploding out of a 20-pound compound. So are these arrows dangerous? And I want to talk about arrows exploding. So if ever you've seen an arrow now, there's always a warning display. You must flex them before you shoot them. And you think, well, why have they got that? Why did they put this stupid thing that no one ever does on all their products now? That you've got to flex it before you shoot it. Because the amount of force required to flex the arrow is more than the force coming out of the bow required to break the arrow. And yet arrows do break out of the bow. So why do they break? In fact, today one of the archers, a club president, came into my store with a broken arrow. Snapped off just there, whereas actually these broke just here. And he goes, the arrow was faulty, I want a new one because it's faulty. I want to claim warranty. It's like there's no warranty on arrows. Well, it's clearly faulty because it snapped at the back here, he said to me. So I want, want another arrow. No, don't do that. Now, I want to talk a bit about it. These carbon arrows are so super strong to start with, okay? And why an arrow breaks. Now, I had a young boy into my shop. His name's Logan. He shoots a 26-pound recurve. He was shooting 1,300 spined arrows, and he comes in with problems. I think one of his arrows broke coming out of the bow. So he comes into my shop and tells me the story how one of the arrows breaks. I said, okay, let me have a look at your shoot. So 1,300 spined arrows, 26 pounds, and I'm going to say a draw length of about 23 inches. Now you're probably going to say that sounds about right. Maybe you're going to say that's right. You wouldn't think the arrow is too stiff, would you? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what you think. Anyway. So he goes to my shooting range and shoots an arrow. And lo and behold, bang, the arrow explodes in 2 bits. Bang. It snaps off at the back end here. So I take a look at the bow. This is a true story, by the way. He still shoots. And in fact, his dad looks after the junior program at my archery club and shot with me as a junior. So it shows you how old his dad is. So the arrow snaps off here. So what's clearly happening is the back end of this arrow is whacking against the bow. Okay, the front of the bow. So it's coming around and going bang into the edge of the riser. So at the front of the bow here, and causing him to hit. Which would have happened with these arrows when they snapped for this kid shooting a 26-pound compound bow with arrows suited for a 50 to 60-pound bow. So, and everyone in the club thinks these arrows are going to be faulty and going to explode, which is why I'm going to shoot them in the video. And if they shoot through my arm, well, then they were right and I was wrong. And I haven't rehearsed it, I haven't shot these arrows. We're going to do it now. So if I have to go to hospital, that'll be a bit unfortunate for me. Anyway, young Logan. So first off, I look at his bow. Now, his plunger button tension was wrong from memory, and Logan could probably correct me on everything I fixed up. I fixed up his center tune and made it tuned. I think I increased the plunger tension, and we went and shot. Now, a couple of issues with this. So when I shot his arrows out of the bow, they shot pretty good, and they obviously didn't break, okay? Now, with a recurve, if you pull it away from your face here, the arrows are going to fly in towards the bow and cause it to break. So what I'm going to say is the shot wasn't that clean. The arrow was still, in my opinion, too stiff for the poundage bow he was shooting, so it wasn't clearing the bow by enough. So I thought, again, it's a guess, okay? So it's my best guess when I'm suggesting stuff to people, and I could be wrong, and I say that, and I say this on all my videos, I do. I could be wrong, it's my best guess. It almost appears to me to be witchcraft to get archery gear to work, right? So it's not like you go, wow, this stuff works. No, a lot of it's just, hoping it works. So anyway, we went for 2,000 spined arrows. So very, very soft arrows. I would have suggested 1800 would have been better, but we went 2000 because I had no 1800s in the shops. It's very, very rare to get that softer arrows. Anyway, we made them up, and he's been shooting him for 6 months now, and it hasn't had any break. His scores went up, and everything was good, and they went up quite a bit. So what was happening was Logan was, when he was releasing, he's pulling away from his face and the arrow's coming in, hitting the riser, and we fixed his plunger, increased the plunger tension, we moved it out a little bit, arrows are shooting straight, and now the arrows bend around the bow and clear. Okay? Now with me shooting his bow, it didn't occur. But with me shooting, I bent my arm to try and simulate the amount of force. I would have had a better release than Logan had. Okay, so that's why I don't think they were exploding for me, although very scary to do because you don't want an arrow to explode. Now with a compound bow, it's a little bit different because when you let go with the trigger, the arrow comes out almost dead straight, right? So it wouldn't be the spine causing the arrow to explode. Okay, so then I've got the question, well, how did this arrow explode out of a compound bow? I'm going to go again and say, because I'm going to stress the point, that manufacturers say you've got to flex the arrow, because if you flex the arrow, then something was clearly wrong. It's not the fault of the arrow, because arrow manufacturers would be dealing with this every day where people would go, the arrow exploded out of the bow. It's because you set up the bow wrong or you did something wrong to cause it to explode. The question is, what did you do? So my question was to this young boy, what arrow rest did you have on the bow? He had a blade rest. So what happened, he's a beginner, when he drew the bow back, the arrow would have fallen off the rest and would have sat between the bow and the rest. And hence when he shot the arrow, it would have come out sideways, hitting the riser on the way through and causing the arrow to snap. That's what I think happened, and that's why the arrow snapped. These are the arrows where the arrow snapped. So again, for beginners, blade rest not a good thing, because if the arrow falls off, he wouldn't have paid any attention because he would have been talking to people, and the arrow basically explodes. So for beginners, you know, like a whisker biscuit or a nice wide V on the blade rest if you're going to use a thing, or use a drop away for beginners. Okay, so today I had a person come in with a carbon arrow, snapped off. And I'm like, I hit the riser. It was a 700 spined arrow, 26 pound recurve, but a short draw, maybe a 24-inch draw. So that means it's not 26 pounds because 26 pounds is at 28 inches. So it's probably more like 20 pounds. So the arrow should be extremely stiff. Now at the moment I'm shooting 700 spine out of a 36 pound recurve, and that's spot on. We did the video yesterday. So that arrow is way too stiff. So the coach thought that because the arrow is too stiff, it'll be fine and it shouldn't be breaking going through the bow. But in fact what's happening is the arrow's whacking on the bow, some part of the bow on the way through, and causing it to break. Now the question is why? Again, a beginner. Now they happen to be shooting bare bow off the shelf of a metal riser. Huge warning flags for me. Now when you shoot bare bow and three fingers are under, it puts massive amounts of pressure on the arrow, pushing it down. In fact, when you shoot bare bow, the arrow is basically, and you're shooting down, the arrow is basically like this, the amount of pressure it's under, and it comes through and it's going to whack because you're shooting off the shelf, 3 fingers under. So if you're shooting 3 fingers under, you generally got to shoot with your knocking point slightly higher, okay? Again, but you need the right spined arrows, and it's going to be a guess. I'm going to guess maybe 1200, 1300, and you're going to say, well, Logan's arrows were 2000. Maybe, I don't know. And this is the whole thing. You've got to try stuff. But it's generally not the gear. And it's generally the way you shoot. It could be... So, with the one which broke today on the back end, it could have been through the arrow moving downwards because of the pressure underneath, or it could be moving in towards the riser because the knocking point wasn't set correctly because it was a metal riser and shooting off the shelf. Very, very likely. I don't know which way it would have hit. I'm going to suggest still into the riser because the arrow rest wasn't centered correctly. And I'm going to say beginner was probably plucking the string. So for beginners, like you're shooting 3 fingers under, you're shooting bare bow, like just lots of problems there. Just start off shooting. I cannot stress enough, get a person shooting, get them enjoying shooting as far as enjoying the arrow going towards the target, and then you can go to bare bow and three fingers under and experiment with all that stuff. But arrows breaking, it's going to be your fault. Okay, so it's not what you're going to want to hear when the arrow breaks. You're going to want an arrow for free. So these are the arrows that broke. Created a huge ruckus at the club, saying these arrows are no good. And here I am. So the bow I'm shooting is a Bowtech Reckoning. It's at 45 pounds, so significantly heavier than the 20-pound compound this kid shot. I haven't shot them before. I've got my sight set as the same as my arrows. My arrows are a 400 spine with 140 grain point, I think. So I don't know where these will go on the target, but we'll see. And maybe it'll go in my arm. And that's the beauty of live video. Oh wow. So the first thing you will see is how far they stick out the front of the bow. These things are massively long, and obviously the pins weren't glued in very well. But we'll just push that back in there. Yeah, I would suggest having that pin with a compound. There's so much force. I'm not going to shoot that arrow because those pins should be stuck in a little bit better. Look, it would have been fine to shoot that arrow with the pin like that, but maybe not. So I'm going to not shoot that one with the pin. So let's have a shot. So when I said about the arrow falling off a blade rest, that's what I mean. The blade rest I have on here is very thin. Oh, I don't know where it went on the target. I can't see anything, but it didn't go through my arm, so that's a very good outcome. Now, when I do these tests and working in an archery shop, it's almost you've got to go, do I believe in myself or do I believe in the customer? Is the customer correct that these arrows are dangerous? Or am I correct in thinking that the arrow fell between the arrow rest and the bow when the beginner drew back the bow, causing the arrow to be angled on the bow and causing the arrow to hit the riser on the way through, which caused the arrow to break? That one I can see. So again, I'm going to say, I cannot stress enough, if you're lucky enough to live near an archery shop, and the archery shop is half decent, and I'm not saying archery shops aren't half decent, but like we set up the gear, we teach you how to shoot. That's what I'm hoping we do, because I have a whole bunch of staff who work for me. I'm hoping we teach you how to shoot. I'm hoping we set up the bow okay, that you go away from the store and have a good experience afterwards. Now maybe you don't. Maybe you don't and the arrows explode. And maybe we didn't teach you how to shoot enough, but like it takes us about 2 hours to sell a bow, set it up and teach you how to shoot. 2 hours. That's how long we spend. And we don't charge. It's crazy, I think. And the whole thing is like when you don't charge, you think, oh, they're making lots of money, they don't charge. No, I'm really not. And people say, yes, you are. No, I'm really not making any money out of it because we spent 2 hours with you. But if we teach you how to shoot properly, you're not going to come back with broken gear and go, this gear's faulty, and I'm going to have to sit there and argue with you, which is just a nightmare. And like today, I could tell the customer was pissed off because he's like, consumer law says the product's faulty, and I'm like, you set up the gear wrong. So that one I released slow. Archery is so much about concentration. These people who go, oh, I shot a perfect score, like I had a customer come in today and telling me about this other archery, shot a perfect score. It's so hard to shoot a perfect score because you've got to be focused for a full number of arrows. And that time I was thinking, I could actually cut these. I'm not thinking these arrows are going to explode and go through my arm. I'm actually thinking I can cut these arrows back because they're so long and I can actually use them. So what happened, the customer brought these arrows back to me and said, they explode. And I said, what I think happened. He goes, well, you can have them because I don't trust them anymore. And I think they're good arrows. So I actually didn't give him any money back for them. And he wasn't prepared to sell them to anyone else because he thought they'd explode. So basically I got a set of arrows. I don't know how many arrows there are. But I think they'll be fine. And 450 spines, not too bad for me. Wobbling around like a old woman. There's no insult to old women, but just have to get stronger. And the peep sight on this bow is so big. Like some shots, and I've done videos before. Some shots I can see the bottom of the peep, and sometimes it's like all around thing. I've really got to change it. And you're probably going to ask why I haven't changed it yet. Because you own an archery shop and you've got a bow press. And I'm going to say again, the most important thing gets back to your shooting. So for me, I need to build up strength, I need to shoot more arrows, and changing the peep sight is not going to build strength, it's not going to improve my form, it's not going to do any of the stuff I need to do. It's not going to change the outcome that I need. I need to build more strength, I need to shoot more, I need this not to hurt. So the peep sight to me doesn't worry me yet. It's a bit annoying, but I'm not going to win a national championship in the condition I'm in right now. So as a result, the peep sight doesn't really matter, is my point. Would it make my life easier? Yeah, look, it probably would. But it's not going to change anything, so I'm not worried about it. And so I'm more worried about just building this up and shooting more arrows every night. Let's go down and have a look where those arrows are. Not bad at all. In fact, I'm thinking about cutting the arrows back so they actually suit me and shooting them in the club championship and shooting compound. And it's not that I'm having a go at anyone, because I'm not. I'm just like, they're actually really good arrows. And I like stuff for free, so and I think I could win an indoor championship shooting these thin arrows I got given for free, which is better than paying $60 a dozen for arrows. And winning anyway. And I'm not having a big head about that. Literally, the arrows I just chose from my recurve are about $60 a dozen. I'm not saying you wouldn't shoot better with it's just pouring with rain, and I'm not saying you wouldn't shoot better with more expensive arrows, because you probably would, but it's so minor and I'm building up strength. So at the moment, I don't really care because I just want to shoot more. So we're going to shoot again. just so you can prove it wasn't an arse, that their bow didn't blow up, that the arrows didn't blow up on me. Look, he's got biter knocks, they're fancy, and he's done a really nice job fletching them. The guy whose arrows these are, he does such a good job fletching his arrows. Now the other thing you're probably going to, well, I'm standing outside in the rain. It's cold. It's not cold because it's raining, although it is raining. It's just cold today. It's really cold. The thing I've noticed also, I'm getting up and down movement. I think I'm getting more up and down movement with the bigger valley. But the peat's not helping, but I'm finding the bigger valley so much easier to shoot. So easier to shoot, but I'm not getting as good at results, I feel, as the shorter valley. But I haven't shot both, I haven't shot scores because my body's just healing. One of the questions you're going to ask is why you're shooting in the rain. When I started this video, it was blue skies, and the rain just black splat came over. But also I'm interested in the grip. So the Bowtech is kind of new to me, and the grip's a bit new, and it's a plastic grip. I'm interested to see how much my hand slips around the grip. Now you'll see lots of people wrap tape around their bows and stuff like that to stop their hands sliding because their hand will get wet, or if it's raining their hands will move. Now if you've got a good torque point on the bow, your hand shouldn't move. So it's when you don't have a good torque point, when the bow's trying to center itself, that's where you have problems. So for me in the rain, this bow should still be okay. So where if you put wrap grip around your riser to stop, you know, like tennis grip and that sort of stuff, to stop your hand sliding, you can actually be masking that you're torquing the bow and you haven't got a good hand grip. So that would have exploded because it came off the arrow rest and I didn't notice. I looked down and I was like, whoa, that would have been interesting, wouldn't it, on the camera? They feel really good. And why would I cut them down? So the spine on these would be fine for the poundage bow I'm shooting right now, but I'll cut them down to get a little bit more speed. Now people ask me, are you shooting compound or recurve in the championships that are coming up? I don't know, I say. I really enjoy the challenge with recurve of getting stronger and the form. I feel that the recurves are really punishing on form. That if you don't release well, if you don't do things well, then it's really, really tough on you. I do like shooting compound, but I do like the challenge of recurve. So I haven't decided yet, and it depends on which one I can shoot, the number of arrows. At the moment I'm up to about 36 arrows a night. So at 32 pound recurve I was shooting 70 arrows a night, and then I'd shoot 3 ends with this, so I'd shoot another 30 arrows with this. Then I went up to 44 pounds with this bow, and I went up to 36 pound with the recurve. They felt brilliant. I don't know if they all went good, but they felt perfect. I felt like I was shooting really well. So let's go and take a look and put this bow under cover so it doesn't rust up. So I had a customer complain about little rust spots on the bow, and I said, well, it doesn't really worry me because they're steel and still rust just from surface, moisture and all that stuff. If you want to keep moisture off, you can put like RP37, it's basically fish oil. It's a spray to stop rust, and you just put a little dob of it on, put it on a cloth, spray it onto a cloth, and then just put the cloth, just rub it on the steel and the rust will go away. For me, it doesn't really worry me. I've got bows that are 10, 15 years old and it just doesn't worry me. Let's go and have a look at our group is and get out of the rain because it's getting really packing in. Well, that was great. I'm really, really happy with that.